Well, today's session was shot with the iPad that I had set on the back there, kind of experimenting a little bit with it. And I had the DJI microphone attached to it, and I thought it was working, but apparently it did not work. And then when I went to download everything and try to, to get it ready to put on YouTube, I put it in CapCut and started to try to put it in there, and the speed was off. So the beginning of it started out fine, first, about a minute or so, and then it just slowed down, and I had to go back in and adjust it, put it up to 7, so it 7 times faster than what it recorded it at. And it worked okay. But these are the things that I've been learning over this past year or so as I've been experimenting with CapCut and Splice and some other things. I do like CapCut quite a lot better than the Splice. It's got more functions on it. It's a little more friendlier for me to use. I still am a novice at it. There's so much more that I could do. It's just going to take me a while to learn it. And like I always remind myself, you don't have that much time, so you need to accelerate the learning process, just like you need to accelerate the learning process here bowling. Now, the guy here to the left of me was very animated and a very good bowler. He had, speed it up, throw it down through there, and let her fly. I think he was kind of smirking at me at first because it takes me a little while to get warmed up, but his smirk left after a little while. As soon as I got warmed up, he could see that I know exactly what I'm doing. Hey, I don't mean to sound smug about that kind of thing, but, I'm 72 years old. I bowl next to a lot of people or kids or, 30s and 40s. I'll start out slow, pretty slow, but then I'll gradually build it up to momentum and get to smoking it down through there and be able to accomplish, speeds and that they have, sometimes even better. And I know one thing is that the concentration level and the desire to pick up spares is very high within my DNA makeup about this. And I don't think that that's the case with most of these younger people. They're so worried about throwing the ball hard and just, making it hook or curve down through there. They don't care how they make it curve or hook or whatever. They just want to see it happen. Me, I do want to be able to get the proper entry into the pocket, and I also want to be able to pick up spares. That's why I work on spares and I work on throwing the ball straight during that time. So bowling has many facets to it, and a lot of it's mental, and then just making sure that you have the proper kind of game plan when you go to attack it. I believe that for me, I've had to learn to take what's out there. On this particular house, the sweet spot is around 14, along in there, into 13 to 14, and it's toward the middle. I mean, that's just where it's at. Now, if I want to stand way to the left and try to, hook it across there, I can do that, but the fact of the matter still remains that I'm better off to keep it straight, keep everything in front of me, and bring it on home. And as soon as I figured that out, it took me a long time to get to where I'm comfortable at doing that, rather than trying to make something work. It's not a question of trying to make something work. It's to make myself do what's that lane out there is telling me that it wants to do, And if I can do it, which I can do this, most of the time I think that, the house shot is relatively simple, and I can see why the reports that come back from some pros, they get a little aggravated about, people that bowl in the league and just that bowl at one particular house, and they'll average 230 or 240, and next thing they're trying to compare themselves to to be a PBA guy, which is ridiculous. Those people play on some stuff that's just absolutely terrible. It's like throwing that ball down freaking an alley of glass. It's just slick, And the more experience I get, different kind of patterns and different kind of oil conditions, the more respect that I have for the people that do this for a living. I've not been doing this, but for 28 months now, and I've improved dramatically. And I think, given enough time, which I don't have enough time, I could have possibly attempted to try to do this at a higher level. But right now, the higher level for me is just to be able to bow in a city tournament or SASPA or something like that. And even for that, I have to come in here and practice, and stay diligent to what I'm doing, stay in control, keep my balance, find a game plan, and work it. I've incorporated ChatGPT within my system of evaluation and keeping track of, what I'm doing, the speed that I'm throwing the ball, where I expect to the zone to be, which ball I want to use, which one really fits the situation better. In this case, phase 2, the storm ball phase 2, it works really well. There's not really a whole lot of need to change from phase 2. I had the Ion Max and the Ion Pro Solid with me today, and I'd used the Ion Max a little bit, but I just went to the phase 2 because I'd had success before here at Diamond with phase 2. And the fresh oil situation, there was a little bit of transition, but not a lot since I'm bowing by myself. I can bowl, 6 games set right there and stay right with it and just move, a little, to the left or make adjustments with what I'm doing. The warm-up game was this one, and I went ahead and downloaded it because I wanted to see how I looked from the beginning, basically to the end, and plus I had some trouble with the iPad. I'm going to have to stick to my DJI because it's a lot more reliable, and I'm able to keep the sound, and I have a lot more confidence in it. Even though the iPad worked pretty well with what it, for what it is. I mean, it worked really well. But anyway, the point is, I would get back to that, is I wanted to see how I looked as I warmed up, and I had bowled, it was just really wasn't even I can't really say for score in the beginning because all I am is loosening up. After I get the first game under my belt, then I'll begin to concentrate and bear down on it and work for score. The second game here that I have after the warm up was I was a 225, I believe, but I think more importantly today is I progressed with each game. I went, started off and I had my warm up game. And then after the warm-up game, I went to a 186, a 197, then a 225, a 258, and then I slipped back down to 227. What I was hoping to do was just keep going up. I wanted to go from 258 to 275 or something like that. But even though the 227 was the last game that I bowled, it was a clean game. I had all corner pin leaves. I think I left 4 corner pins and spared on all my attempts. I'm going to look back over here at it now and see if I can't recall exactly what happened there in that final game. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 5 corner pin leaves. So that meant I had 7 strikes. So, that first game that was recorded, I think it was probably in the 140s. But again, it was just a warm-up game. It really wasn't me bearing down on what I needed to do. The iPad is very helpful. I mean, I've been able to use it, you know, and set it up back there, and it's got a good wide screen on it. I can, you know, play it back, or I can use it while I'm there. It's a little bit handier to do like that. Is that aspect of it than the DJI is, but realistically, the DJI is far superior to the iPad as far as the camera function goes. That apparently the settings on it I need to figure out also, because the settings, oh my goodness, yeah. When you got all your stuff loaded on there and you go to play it back and look at it, and you know, and there it is. First minute is looking good, and it hits that dead zone, and it's running at, you know, about, I don't know, it's 20% of normal speed, you know, or this times 7 times slower than normal, and you have to go back and adjust it to make it to where you can follow through what you're actually doing. Anyway, today's session was that me basically standing with my left foot, which is around 30, and I'm looking out there at around 14 to 15, and that's about that 5th dot in front of me. I'm getting a pretty good walk up there at the ball, keeping my feet and trying to keep my balance, and trying not to pull down too hard. When I try to put extra power on it, sometimes I'll muscle it up a little bit and I will pull it across my body. I just have to remember to stand tall, roll the ball like Mark Baker says. That was an example right there of what I was talking about the timing mechanism on there was not working properly. So anyway, this is the game that I bowled 225 on, and sure enough, I went right into the first frame there, and I believe that's the one that has a split with it. One of the most valuable lessons that I learned over those last months is that I took that a virtual lesson from Mark Baker, and Mark Baker he's a super smart man that surprises you with his intelligence about any bowling. I mean, he really does. I mean, he's a big old guy, and you don't expect a big old jock-looking fella to have a whole lot of sense, but stand corrected, he's a freaking bowling genius. And with that, you know, I got to give him some respect, absolutely. But he took a look at my, you know, video that I sent him and made some suggestions to me, which absolutely, you know, basically changed my game and the way I throw the ball. Because my timing was way off, you know. I was releasing the ball and not at the right point. And he's got me to where now when I go into that throw and that when I bring it up, when my foot sticks on the outside of it, my arm is not going to be no further back than probably around about my hip level or above. I wish I could even get it higher because I'd get a lot more power out of it. But little by little, you know, I got to stand tall, roll the ball, and I constantly am saying that through my whole series of bowling. I know people look at me and think I'm crazy, but it's just a little mantra that I have is just stand tall, roll the ball. Okay, we're not throwing it, we're rolling it. You know, and we're coming up through the back of it. Now, you know, J.R. Raymond says you don't come. You know, he's talking about coming up through the back. People get it all wrong and all that. Well, he's right to a degree, but for me, it's for me to remember to come up through the back. And when I come up through the ball, my hand rotates naturally. Mark Baker It says when you extend your hand up, your arm is naturally going to turn. It's naturally going to turn over, and that's where the axis rotation comes in. Now you can crank it a little bit and get a little bit more rotation if you want to, or if you can come straight up the back of it and try not to get any, depending upon what you need at the time. Those are the things that only practice can tell, and be able to manipulate your hand in a form or a fashion that you're able to learn from. First off, you got to be able to put the ball in a particular place consistently. You need to walk straight, or at least be able to walk consistently. If you're moving, left to right or right to left, you need to be moving that way. If you're moving, 4 boards one way or another, or 5 boards one way or another, it needs to be that way every time. It's consistent. When I first started doing this, I knew that I needed to keep it as simple as possible. And I think about this as a baseball player. I know that when I was a baseball player, I was younger. I didn't have a whole lot of teaching, really. I just had natural ability. If I would have had a little more teaching, I could have probably, no doubt about it, I would have done a lot better. But as an older person, when I started bowling, I was, 69 and 3/4 years old, so that's why I call myself the 70-year-old rookie bowler. I wanted to make this thing as repeatable as possible and be able to control my body and be able to make it simple. And so that's what I've done. I have a very short approach. I don't take very many steps. My steps are not particularly long, but I've listened to instruction from Mark Baker, and realistically, it's just my steps are very quiet. It's not exaggerated, and it's just boom. It's just, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, just throw the ball. And I've worked on making sure that I get my arm in the right position and bring it back. It's just like one of those old pitching machines, is the way I look at it in my mind. They used to be called the iron mic. It would just be like, on a spring-loaded thing, and the ball would go in, and it'd go boom, and it would poop, and it would go straight, And that was before they had the jugs machines like we have now, where there's 2 spinning balls together, and you could crank them up and throw curveballs out of them, one thing or another. The iron mic was just basically set up to throw a fastball, and that's the way I mimicked my arm, basically to come straight up through the back, come up through the ball, behind the ball, and as I do come up through it, my hand will rotate, and that's where I get the rev rate. And there's a whole lot about rev rates, and the more rev rates you get, the better, and the more pin action, and yada yada yada. Well, that's all true, and I believe that I've got a decent amount of rev rate for the position I am in life. I went to the training bowling institute there in Arlington, and they put you on Spectra or Specto, and rate your accuracy and your rev rate, and put you in different categories of to where mine didn't turn out very good, because one thing is I didn't fully understand exactly what we were doing at the time. But I plan to go back, and I'm pretty sure that my accuracy is going to be much more better, and now that I know how the test reads. But I did have a decent amount of rev rate, and even back then it was around 375, and for a 70-year-old rookie person that didn't really know what the hell they were doing, that was pretty good, and I'm pretty sure now it's even better than that. I'm not going to kid myself. It's definitely not 500, and but it doesn't have to be. All I have to do is be accurate. Be accurate. That's the main thing. So I'm working on accuracy and balance the whole time that I'm doing this. I'm not rushing myself. I'm being consistent with my steps. I'm being consistent with my hand delivery, and I'm paying attention to the ball and what's happening out there on the lane, and moving when I need to move. you wouldn't think that an inch or two one way or another would matter. At least I didn't think that when I first started this. But if I move my feet 2 inches to the left and my eyes 1 inch to the left, or sometimes 2, it makes a dramatic difference on what happens to the ball, providing I can put the ball in the right place every time. See, that's the key to everything here. You got to be consistent and you got to be accurate. And in order to be accurate, you need to have balance. In order to have balance, you just need to keep your feet under you, pay attention to what you're doing, and not be stumble bumming around out there. You know, old people have a tendency to lose balance, and you really, as an older person, you need to work on the strength in your legs and for the stability of them. And, you know, some of the things I do have to work on is like just right there is the follow through on my shot. You know, and not flail around. It looks a little bit like Walter Ray a little bit. He was a flailer, you know. He didn't necessarily follow through, but he was very, very accurate and is a tremendous spare shooter. So him and Norm Duke both were tremendous at being able to repeat their shot and to be, and their accuracy level was extremely high. You know, people like Pete Weber and Belmo, they always grabbed all the main attention. But Walter Ray in his day, he competed at a very, very high rate for a long time and is still competing. And seniors and even at 65 plus years old, he is doing okay. Walter Ray is the man, some would say. Walter Ray. What a guy. Oh, the old horseshoe guy.
We've got 2 games left. Each game has been better than the one before. So here we go with this one. Hopefully Caddo can continue the same trend.
Okay, we're going to start this game off. And I'm going to start this game off just about like I started off a couple of these other games, which was in very good fashion. But I'm going to stand up tall and I'm going to roll the ball and I'm going to end up with it throwing the ball pretty good down through there. Let's see how I do. Pretty good. Looks good. It fell off to the right a little bit. Not too bad. But here it goes. I end up with a split. Yep, I ended up with a split. I actually felt like I got cheated right there. I threw the ball pretty well and ended up with a split. Now, you know, in the past, when I used to just get started with this stuff, I'd get extremely frustrated with this because, you know, when you start off cockeyed, then it just seems like it goes downhill from there. But the mind, I have to set my mind right now to throw. I need a 3-bagger right there. You know, I need to throw a turkey in order to offset that split where I can get my feet back up underneath and get the score, keep the score, you know, in range and make it to where it's going to be a decent score. So, okay, I'm concentrating on this shot, not the last one. I blocked that one out, threw it out the window, and left it somewhere out there where I don't have to think about it. Okay, there you go. Picked up a strike. The only thing I think about that other side over there is, you know, why did that happen? And I'm thinking, do I need to make an adjustment? And realistically, no, I don't really think that I do. It went in through the pocket. I just happened to get a bad break on it and ended up that split. So I'm going to maintain, you know, where I've been throwing the ball, and I'm just going to stay positive with it, you know. I'm saying all this stuff to myself, and now I'm going to stand up there, and what I'm saying is stand tall, roll the ball, Mike. Just stand tall, roll the ball, Mark Baker style. So just hit your spot, roll it right up through it. Nope, I followed through better that time, and it was success. It was a powerful strike. Okay, now I've got 2 of them. The goal that I set a few minutes ago, was a turkey. I wanted a turkey to offset that open, you know, on that split. So I got to get one more. I'm saying, okay, stand tall, roll the ball. Stand tall, roll the ball. Yep, going to stand tall, roll the ball. Come up through the back of the ball. Okay, get zoned in. Watch what you're doing. Up through it, pretty good follow through. Success. Okay. I've achieved that. 3 in a row. Got the turkey. Okay, I've covered up that split by 3 in a row and feeling pretty good. And this particular thing is that, all right, I've got 3 in a row, and I really, what would be great if I could strike all the way out, That would be tremendous little, I don't know, ego boost, I suppose. But anyway, concentration levels up, so I'm watching to what I'm doing. Line it up. There was a little spot right out there on the approach that I zeroed in on that I could stand on it and mark myself pretty well. And there it goes. It's on the ball. Now, my body's blocking out a lot of these shots, and that was a good shot right there. Yep, I was a little disappointed. A very disappointed, matter of fact. And I left a 7-pin out there. Now, I normally pick the 7 pins up pretty well, and I've got a little technique, and I've been trying to, if I can shift my body just a little bit and get my hips in the right position and get my arm lined up, and it just, there you go. You get down through there, you picked it up, fired it in there. All right, so we got off the wagon a little bit. Now, we're looking at the score here, and it's, it's looking good. I mean, we got a chance here. We got 83 in the fourth. So really want to get over 100 in the fifth, right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we had 88 in the fourth. Okay, I want to get a strike. That's good. So if I can put those together, I got a 258, if I can work my way all the way out, 258. That's the goal. The goal is always to strike out, okay? 258 is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, okay, stand tall, roll the ball. You're doing pretty good. Okay, line up with that little mark out there. I got my eyes looking at that fifth dot coming up through the back of the ball each and every time. Yep, I kind of fell off the side, but success. All right, pulled it out. Yep, I'm telling myself right there, come on, Mike. It was a strike, but you still need to follow through properly. Just because you struck doesn't mean you're going to have to keep it neat, tighten it up, got to tighten it up. Keep your body under control, all right? If I can touch the top of my head or right over my shoulder with my hand when I come through, I know that I've got a decent shot. And a lot of times if I'll do that, I'll get a lot more carry out of it for some reason. There, see there? I tried it right there. I reminded myself of it. That's success. All right. That's pretty good. Yep, that's real good. All right, so we're in the 7th frame. Now, we can build on this. We're still thinking that we're going to stand tall, roll the ball, okay? We've had a little bit of trouble on that left lane over there, so we're going to have to pay more attention to it. All right, we're going to have to follow through over there. Stand tall, roll the ball. Keep your foot in the right spot. Find that little place out there. There you go. Now you got it. Standing tall, rolling the ball like Mark Baker tells you. Look down through there and follow through. Make sure your arm comes up through. There you go. That was much better. Yep, okay. We carried it. Okay, it's looking pretty good, feeling pretty good here. Body's moving all right. My legs are feeling good. I don't have any pain or anything going on there. It's a good flow also of the game. I'm bowling by myself. I'm concentrating on what I'm doing. There's no distractions on either lanes around me. Nothing going on much around me that's distracting me at all. I'm totally focused on what's going on here. Total focus on what's going on. Standing tall, rolling the ball. Got my focal point in, looking down the lane. Always remembering to look down the lane, too. I'm looking really, in this case, I'm looking at the 3-pin. And boom, there you go. Got it again. Well, things are looking pretty good for me. Yep, they are. Got to stand tall, roll the ball. Anyway, it's, not getting distracted and letting my mind wander away, that's the key. I can't think beyond the ball that I'm going to throw right now at this time. I can't go past that. This is the ball that I'm got to make these, make work. I got to make this one work. I got to stand tall, roll the ball. Stand tall, roll the ball. Come up through the back of the ball. Follow through, pretty good follow through. Yes. It worked. All right. Okay, so we had a little issue there, I think, with the recording, but everything worked out all right. So we're going to still continue to go. Stand tall, roll the ball. Standing tall, rolling the ball is always the issue. We're going to come up through the back, we're going to follow through, and we're going to make it work. I've got 250 something working here. If I just got to follow through with the ball, I'm looking for my goal of 258. Yeah, I'm not thinking about it too much right now. I'm more talking about it right now because I know what happened. But I'm always following through, and amen and hallelujah. We managed to take care of that one.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.